My name is George Fodenakis, and I'm glad you clicked on this video. Hopefully it'll give you some ideas how you can make a really inexpensive accessory for your lathe and also maybe have a safer way to breathe cleanly in your shop. What I did is I wish I could say I invented this all myself, but I watch a lot of YouTubes, and this is a compilation of several and finally a dust pickup that is my own idea. And it's simply made by taking a piece of scrap material. It can be scrap material of two different kinds, and I'll show you what I use. Cutting a 10-inch disc and then putting self-adhesive sandpaper on it, giving it a spin, and using a self-made work table that comes from a little accessory that you'll use on your banjo. So let's take a look. Is a sanding disc and a table mount, and I can show you how simply these were to make. First thing I did, I'll kind of back off the banjo here, and you can see if I flip this over, what I have on the bottom, this is 3/4 inch plywood rounded on the front side, and I just took I think this is about a 3/4 inch pipe, and a pipe threaded a holder, and you can see I got these at Home Depot. This screws right in there. I drilled a hole in there and pounded in a little piece of metal. What that does for me is I can drop it here into the banjo, and when it stops, it's stopping dead center on my sanding disc, so I don't have to adjust it every time. It just stops right there. I tighten it in, and then I kind of move my banjo in till I get a very close clearance, tighten it in and give it a spin and see if it spins freely. When I back this off, I'll pull this out in a way which you can see that I have here. On this side, I've taken a faceplate, and I simply took a piece of material. My first attempt that was kind of a failure is I took 3/4 inch plywood and I cut it. You can see right here, I cut it into a circle. I can't cut a circle that well, so I cut it a little over 10-inch diameter, and then you can see I attached a faceplate to it right here. So I attached the faceplate in the center, and then I spun it on the lathe and trimmed it down to where it was a perfect circle at 10 inches. This plywood, even though it was a nice piece of plywood and I finished it, it still had a little bit of wobble in it. So lucky for me, I was traveling down the road and I saw a piece of trashed furniture, and it was just particle wood that had been covered with formica on both sides. And I took that piece of formica and did the same thing, cut a 10-inch diameter circle, and then I put the faceplate on it, but this time, because this is particle, I didn't want to go with screws. I put 4 bolts through it, I threaded it on here, and then I spun it around and I cut it to get that 10-inch size on there. And you can see, even though this is particle, which I don't usually have a lot of respect for, they do press it and make it very, very true to itself. So you can see I can spin it and I can take it up to a really high speed. I wouldn't sand this high, but I've got it at, right now, 1500 revolutions. And you can see it's spinning very truly. Take it down to where I would normally sand at a very low speed. And I went looking for sanding discs, and you can get these on eBay or Amazon. Amazon wanted 2 of them for $16 plus shipping, and I thought before I do that, I'll go down to Harbor Freight, and you can see I picked these up. I had 60 grit, 80 grit, and 100 grit papers in here. And what were they? Package of 5 with their discount. it was $3.40, which is ridiculous. And I've had this on for several projects now, and it's doing a good job. You can see I have a second one mounted to a faceplate, and this is my 60 grit. And I'm finding that I can change them off very quickly, and it's much easier than pulling out and setting up my belt disc sanding unit. I can just throw this on here very quickly. I was getting some dust off of this, and the dust pickup that I came up with, I'll give you a look. I'll take this off, and this is simply from Home Depot also. And you can see down here what we have is this is my vacuum hose, plugs in the back here. It's held down here with just a little wing nut. And what I did, I'll bring the camera in closer. You can see down here that I've taken and I slit this in the center. Sorry about the camera use there. I split it down the center with a razor knife and then cut it out on both sides. And then I bent it back. It didn't want to bend too easily, so I heated it up with a hair dryer. And when I got it bent and flared up, I just put some scrap masonite hardboard in here, and in the back to block off the airflow. And then I put pop rivets on the side to hold it in there nice and tight. So you can see my sanding disc sands inside here, and as it spins it throws the sawdust down, and I've got a really good river of air flowing through here and sucking, I'd say, 90% of the dust into my unit. The only problem that I've seen so far is when it's spinning, it depends on the wheel, the type of pickup I get. I'm noticing that when I spin and I'm cutting, usually I'd want to cut out here, you get a higher RPM anyway. Out here, more sanding surface, it picks up fine. If I touch it here, my dust seems to spin around and some of it kicks up on this side and it isn't picked up by my unit. But that's a little sacrifice to make, to just use this outside area. When this is in here, some of you may know this already, but the best way to clean this off is by using a crepe rubber stick, and you can put it against the sanding disc and it pulls a lot of the loose dust out, and then you have a better sanding surface. I'm beginning to be more and more aware of sawdust. I tried paper masks, but one of the best that I found, and this is not paper, it's a type of microfiber, and it bends over your nose, wraps over your ears. It's very comfortable. Two things I like about this: it's not disposable. You can just take it to the sink, wash it out with some detergent, rinse it off, hang it up to dry, and it's good to go. The only disadvantage to this, you can get these on Amazon. The disadvantage is it's rather warm. On a hot summer day, it's kind of warm to wear. But this here, used if I'm using something that is a little more dusty, is a good addition to this device that I have. One other thing I want to mention, because I just read this on American Woodworkers magazine, that some woods, one that I'm thinking of right away is walnut, and this is a piece of African cherry wood. And I'm sorry, it's not African cherry, it's African rosewood. Both walnut and this wood, and probably many others, are extremely toxic. And if you get those small fibers deep into the tubules inside your lungs, the particles aren't going to come out. They're going to stay down in there, and the toxin, at least in the walnut, has a tendency to make the cilia in your lung not respond to movement anymore. They just go limp on you. So just a suggestion that you cover up, don't take a risk with dust. I mean, most of us wood turners have been around a long time, and we don't want to be taken out by some dust when we can easily control that. So I hope you enjoyed watching this. try making a couple of these sanding discs, especially if you have some of these face plates laying around. If you bolt them on when you need them, you can just take this off. But I'm finding I'm using this more than any other accessory that I've had. So good luck to you. Let me know in the comments if you are able to make one yourself. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.